As the DC Multiverse comes to a close, Todd sends somebody that has experience ending it. Here's a look at the McFarlane Toys. McFarlane Toys Digital DC Countdown Monarch. Nate Adam becomes the new incarnation of his main adversary, Monarch. He recruits an army to battle the Monitors, but is successfully opposed by the team of alternate Captain Atoms. To be considered one of the most powerful beings in the DC universe, the fact that even Superman's punches don't even faze him, yeah, Monarch did deserve to have a figure. And before, of course, we look at the figure of Monarch, let's take the tape measure, shall we, and see how tall the figure stands. I actually found this on the Facebook selling group from, you guessed it, Popeye the Toy Man. If you'd like to check out the wares that he has right now, you can click the link down below in the video description. Back, though, to Monarch, the figure's going to stand at 7 inches in height, or roughly about 18 centimeters tall. As for a couple of other characters that have invested interest in destroying worlds, here's what Monarch looks like with the mega-sized superpowers Darkseid. I say superpowers because this was the one that had the cape. There is also another Darkseid that was more cell-shaded that didn't have the cape if you want to go that route. I do hope, though, before the line runs out, we do get ourselves a non-caped Darkseid. Come on, McFarlane, you've already got the mold for him. Here's also what the figure looks like on the other side, the Anti-Monitor. So I think you can see he's in pretty good company. Nathaniel Adam, that name sounds familiar. It does probably sound familiar, too, because prior to being Monarch, he was known as Captain Atom. Not really having accessories is already a strike against Monarch. The figure really only comes included with the display stand and then 2 cards on either side of him. We're going to start probably with the one that you're not likely to keep. The figure does also come included with the McFarlane Toys digital card, a redemption code card that all is required on your part is to go to www.mtd.gg. You got that in there? It's actually right here. All you have to really do, though, is go to the site, go to the McFarlane app, or for your Mac or your PC, scratch the above, which I'm about to do, to reveal your one-time use code. Create your account and log in, then click on Redeem Code in the top left corner. So it would be right over there, yeah. And then, of course, follow the instructions in the pop-up window to redeem your code. With that being said, though, and reach off to the side here, I'm just going to grab McCutcheon's. McCutcheon's isn't going to be doing much cutting. All he's really going to be doing is scraping away this, and I know it's going to get everywhere. Scrape, scrape, scrape away I go, and revealing the code to you. Now, if you currently have your eyes closed, the code is YKQUUSUVGLTTWO. I do really hope that that's an O and not a 0. Anyways, though, that's the card. We're just going to move that off to the side. And then while we're speaking of cards, of course, Monarch does come included with a card. Card has some pretty good illustration of the character on the front. Though I would probably have said, though, that's a lot of unused area right above his head. Could they not have maybe made the head a little bit higher, just kind of moved the body, moved it up just a little bit, or just increased the size of the image? I know that would have cut off the sides of his arms, but I don't know, that just seems like a lot of real estate space that somebody could easily have used for something else. Maybe somebody may want to rent out the property here, make a tiny little shed, something that Bob Ross would have done in his paintings. And of course, you want to make sure that you make yourself a path leading up to the brick, little wooden cottage cabin. Anyways, though, on the back of that, a much closer and clearer image to see of his face. His real name already mentioned is Nathaniel Adam. I just happen to have myself my Captain Atom card from before, so I just flip it around on the back. Yeah, you can see Nathaniel Adam. Although, unlike Captain Adams, that probably took me at the time of doing the video a much longer time to read, there's not as much to read here when it comes to Monarch. These cards, by the way, will go in the sheet protector. You're probably already asking yourself, well, wasn't that card already in your sheet protector? Clearly, you can see the condition of this card. This one never found its way into the trading cards. I don't know why. I just maybe I put it in the bag along with Captain Atom. Anyways, don't judge me on my cards. The figure does also come included with, of course, his display stand. You've got the McFarlane logo off to the far side, McFarlane Toys, slightly smaller print right along the top, and digital being a lot much larger. A very close walking distance. You can see there's the peg right there that can plug into either one of Monarch's boots. Of course, the figure does stand fine on its own. It's not that he necessarily needs to have his display stand. I gotta say right away, I'm a little disappointed, as mentioned, that the figure doesn't come included with any other things. Some accessories could have easily been borrowed over. In fact, speaking of which, and speaking of Captain Atom, I still have his energy effects. These would, though, if you have the Captain Atom figure, you basically just take these and clip them around his hands. So you want to add some energy effects, you can certainly do that. Why am I having such a hard time doing that? You get the idea. I think his hand basically would just slide in. Anyways, I wish, though, that the figure could have come included with something along those lines. I mean, like the molding would have to have been increased by a little bit, because also you can see that Monarch's hands are a little bit bigger in size. But something just like this could have been easily included. I say easily, says the guy that invests nothing into actually producing action figures as a hobby, as a living. I mean, Todd has a little bit more invested interest, I'm sure, to what goes into the budget. But I feel like a little bit of the budget could have gone into something like this, just to clip around his hands. Now, you could phone it in a little bit. I was trying to do this myself. Could I maybe use Captain Atom's hand pieces to maybe go around Monarch's? Not really. I mean, obviously you can see, like, Monarch's hands are way too big. There's no real way. I mean, I guess you could kind of heat this up in hot water, but this is kind of what I'm trying to get across to you. Something like this, I think, could have gone a long way. Maybe even like this hand piece, would that work? Not really. I mean, it's designed for much smaller hands. So, like, that's never really going to cut it. But something like this is really what I'm talking about. He needed to have something like this. A character that's known for destroying... Well, he really went in there with a plan to really destroy the entire DC multiverse. This guy's got powers galore. Absorption abilities, superhuman strength, and vulnerability. Again, like, Superman took a swing on this guy, and it didn't even faze him. So I really feel like, again, he needed to have a little bit more than what you're seeing right now. What you get, at least for a figure of Monarch, is a pretty good depiction of the character. Monarch has had 3 different characters play the character, well, take the role up of Monarch. Of course, he's sort of had a very similar design in most of the 3 incarnations of him. And I think what we get here, though, for the DC Countdown release of Monarch is pretty good. I don't feel like we need to get ourselves any other earlier incarnations of the character. I think this version of Monarch is perfectly fine. One unfortunate thing, though, I've noticed about getting the figure out of the packaging is out the gate already. I barely even grabbed myself any snacks. This guy already seemed to have really loose arms. This one arm looser than the other one. I don't think they've used this mold. I mean, it's really hard to kind of say this. I mean, you're looking at his bicep, you're looking at his shoulder. These look like just basic looking arms. I'm sure, though, they have used these from other figures. But yeah, it's just a little bit of a bummer that unfortunately had to be so loose so quickly out of getting this guy out of this plastic prison. Head sculpt looks quite good, though, for Monarch. Of course, you got the blue, and then, of course, you've got that kind of yellow cowl that he has that engulfs or wraps around his face. That looks really good. Tiny little squinty eyes. Those are painted well in white, too. Now, there's going to be a little bit of conflict when it comes to really getting this figure to move. Moving the head up and down, I know we're kind of rushing along for the articulation point already, but like you can't really do too much really with his head. His head being encased by this collar piece, which is a softer plastic, does very little when it comes to allowing the figure's head to move back and forth. About this is all you can really do. Moving the head up and down, just forget about it. The detailing done to the rest of his body, for the most part, looks okay. I feel like really there could have been an opportunity for, especially the gray plastic, a little wash or something on top of this, because it does look like they're just using the basic plastic. If you look to the light source, if you kind of have the studio light shining across it, you can kind of make out, though, that they did add technically a bit of paint. It's kind of more of a glittery, sparkly paint. So at least there's that. But a dark wash, I think, could have also had to bring some contrasting colors to this. I mean, he's very known for having bright colors anyways, with the blues and the bright yellow belt that he has. Just a little bit of something to around like the torso area, I think could have added some nice dark contrasting colors. He's got the gray down below here for the hands, but it just seems like everything that's gray seems more to get in the way of everything else around it. So like his hand is really a hard thing to kind of turn, because he's got this piece right here that sticks over top of it. The lower legs down below have a skirting, so the skirting is a softer plastic here. And then he's got this front piece that's really using the same material. So nice yellow that they've done to the boots. There are a few little areas where it kind of seems like, especially for the yellow, a second coat of paint probably could have gone a long way. It just came, unless they had planned to have the yellow look like this, maybe like with it deliberately scratched away, look like he's been in the battlefield. But it does look like the yellow probably could have used just a little bit more. The yellow in the belt looks okay too, if you spin this around for the sides. A really nice looking sculpting overall. Yeah, it's a nice looking, I do really like the look of Monarch. All in all, though, he looks exactly like I would want Monarch to look if they were released in plastic. Again, it's a little bit of a disappointment that so soon at getting this guy out of the packaging, he was already loose in the shoulders. But for the rest, though, of the figure, he looks pretty good. There is one thing, though, I did want to also mention, too. When it comes to the articulation of the figure, of course, it will involve tilting back the torso. There is a little area right here. You can see there's unfinished gray paint. It stops here, and then, I mean, it looks fine when you do it like this, but the moment you tilt his torso up, you can notice that there's a gap right there. I really kind of feel that they could have added a little bit more gray paint right there. If you display him this way, you're never going to be any the wiser. Now, for Monarch's articulation, mentioned already, the figure's going to be a little bit limited. The head can move back and forth. You can also see, too, that they went actually in there and painted the yellow in his neck. If we kind of get everything out of the way there. Yeah, I mean, that's nice, a little attention to detail that they did add the yellow in there for his neck, so it's consistent with the rest of his head. Head does, again, rotate back and forth. Moving up and down, though, just really forget about it. I mean, looking at Monarch, though, it does look like a character you'd expect to see in a Rob Liefeld kind of 90s comic. Not like Youngblood, but kind of like along those lines. Of course, if you were looking at anything that Rob Liefeld would have drawn, I mean, it would have hidden the feet and lower legs altogether. Rob Liefeld had a big problem when it come to designing his boots. And of course, if you saw Monarch, he'd have just this giant torso that would be unrealistically proportioned. Rob Liefeld, don't ever quit your job. The head, again, is going to be a little bit more limited. Rotating it back and forth isn't so much the issue. Moving it up and down, though, is the bigger one. Upper torso is going to be on a good, generous ball joint. The lower abdomen is also going to do the same. Now, the shoulders are actually, if I just move things up here, you can see they're attached by this piece with only a thin strand of plastic. That kind of plastic, though, you really don't want to be bending up and down. I mean, it's a soft enough material. It's got give. But, you know, there's only so little of it that's keeping the two pieces together. The arms do hinge out, at least the shoulders get out of the way for that. Rotating the arm all the way around can be a bit of an issue, and you can kind of already see, moving his arm back and forth, it is loose. A lot looser than it should be for a brand new figure. Figure does have a bicep swivel, yes he does. Double hinge on the elbow, and the hands rotate all the way around. All the way around, although again, like this piece right here is going to get in the way. The legs do split out. No real issues with the skirting necessarily. The skirting being that it's so close to the leg anyways. I mean, that's how much space you really have to work with. Just enough space that a tiny little mouse and his family could find shop. Maybe start a new life in there. What are we talking about? Legs do split out. Yes, they do. You can take the legs and move them forward and move them back. There's a nice generous swivel at the top of the thigh. Monarch does have a double hinge on his knee. No articulation, surprised to see. I kind of was thinking that his boot would be able to rotate, but that does not seem to be the case. His feet, however, move up and down. Ratcheted joints of all things. There's a nice move back and forth as well, and the figure does also have toe articulation. I really dig the look of these boots. I had boots similar, or shoes similar to looking like this. They had like a kind of a belt buckle on the top. That was during that phase. Every person goes through that phase. Captain Atom certainly did go through a phase when it came to him taking the mantle of Monarch. Just bring you back in Captain Atom here. So definitely there's a big size difference also between the two characters. One thing I do kind of wish that could have also carried over was not only just his name, but also like pieces like this. Monarch, especially, where's the card? Where's the card? I've got the card right here. You can see that Monarch does have something attached onto his hand's energy effects. Could they not have just done something similar to this? I mean, just to use this mold again, they could have taken this idea, shrunk it up. Maybe not 3 times that day. We don't need to be the Grinch. But at least they increased it by 2 times. I feel like that would be at least a big enough thing to fit around the figure's hands. Now, I'm sure I might be able to go in there and heat these up with hot water if I really want to damage them. Make them at least big enough. I'm going to see if I can try to fit them around the hands for Monarch, because I really feel like the figure does need something. It's fine, good, and all that the figure doesn't come include, of course, with a card, a display stand. Sure, that's always nice. Where's my display stand? It's right over here. These are fine things to throw in with a figure, but when you get a character like Monarch who had he left such devastation in the comics, you would think, though, that they would spend a little more of the budget in given some of the things that you would have had for proper accessories. I know, again, he's a larger figure than Captain Atom. Captain Atom had these things. I just feel like a larger version of him should have had something of the same. They didn't belong to him. They're not the right size for him. But still, though, in final looks and wrapping up the review for Monarch, I'm going to be using the energy effects here pulled from Captain Atom. I mean, it's fitting after all that Nathaniel Atom would then take up the mantle of Monarch. Why not just use his accessories as well? If I do choose to do these things, though, moving forward and long term, I might try to actually heat these things up in hot water. Maybe I can find a way to stretch them and fit them around his hands. Because right now it doesn't really look like they're fitting around his hands. If anything, just looks like someone like myself tried to make something work that didn't. Something that didn't seem to work all that well either was attaching this figure's feet to the display stand peg. I showed you at the beginning of the review that easily enough they just attach onto either hole on the bottom of his boots. Yet, though, easier said than done. One thing I noticed, though, with Monarch is he had really small holes on the bottoms of his boots that also, to get them onto the peg, really had to exert some force and stress. Still, though, I eventually got him onto the display stand, so he'll be standing the way he is right now on my shelf as well. Not sure, though, if I'm going to be displaying him alongside Captain Atom. I think, if anything, I might just choose to display him with the other big baddies like Darkseid and the Anti-Monitor. What do you guys, though, think of Monarch? Let me know down below in the comment section. Is this a character that you're familiar with, or you've never even heard the name Monarch before? One name, though, that you've heard, I'm sure, before is Popeye the Toyman. Yeah, his Facebook selling group is the place where I seem to be getting a lot of my DC Multiverse figures as of late. The same can also be said as well for Monarch. That's the place where I ordered him and 2 other figures. I'm not going to tell you who those 2 characters are just yet, but they're going to be coming your way in the rest of this week. So making sure you guys are coming back for that. First things first, though. First things first. If you guys did enjoy the video of Monarch, you can do it certainly a solid by hitting it with that like. And if you guys don't want to stick around for more so, and I hope so, hit the subscribe, turn on that bell, ... Come back. As always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.